Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bobby and Beardy show. I am Beardy this time, and he is.
Well, I'm Bobby, normally doing the intro, but it's Beardy's turn.
It is. You are joining us on our episode where we're going to be discussing Challenges, Zendaya's new film that we watched in the last week or so. We will get into that in a second, but firstly, Bobby, how have you been? Any culture to talk about?
Oh, culture chat time. No culture, I'm afraid. Going on holiday soon, though, so might have some culture to waffle on about next time or the time after, depending on when we record. Yeah, I'm very well. Just nothing really exciting to talk about at this time. How are you, though?
Similar sort of thing. Since last time we recorded, work, and I guess a bit more work. I've been traveling all around the country to areas that I don't want to go to, doing installations. So somehow less culture than usual because just drop in, run out, go away. I just don't want to be there.
He loves it. He loves it. Don't listen to him, everybody. He has a great time. He loves driving around.
I do. 6 hours yesterday for 5 hours of work. Just loved it so much.
I bet you do.
Anyway.
I bet you do.
Oh, I have a cough though. Again, maybe the same one, but
Maybe
we'll
the
get through
same
it
one.
together.
I don't want to get through it together. You can keep that cough all to yourself.
Fair enough.
Shall we crack on with the show?
I think you should tell us a little bit about Challenges.
Okie dokie, here's the rundown. Challengers is a romantic sports drama film directed by Luca Guadagnino. The screenplay was by Justin Kirkus, starring Zendaya, Mike Feist, and Josh O'Connor. It follows a professional tennis champion, played by Feist, who plots a comeback with the help of his wife, Zendaya, who was a former teenage prodigy who had to retire. And then he's trying to make a comeback, basically. So that's the very brief rundown of that. I haven't actually written down the budget for once, like a fool.
Oh wow, I might have that actually.
How am I supposed to do my very funny Aussie dollars joke?
I've heard the budget is 55 million.
Yes. What's the box office?
Opening weekend? Or gross worldwide?
Gross worldwide, please.
25.3 million.
Oh, there we go. Wow, I've been very unprepared. This is what happens. Beardy says he's going to do the intro, and I'm thrown through a loop, and I don't do any of my normal bits and pieces. I've been too busy focusing on other things. We'll get into that in a moment. Beardy, right, there's my awful rundown. The worst I've ever done. Not a single Civil War Roundheads joke either in any of my openings. But what did you think of the film? Let's start with that.
What I thought about it. So I went into it honestly thinking I was going to hate it. Everything I'd seen had pretty much been that it was a love letter from Zendaya to Zendaya. And that's what I'd seen. That's what I'd heard. It was very much like I'm young, fantastic tennis player. Everyone should love me. Oh, everyone does love me. I'm going to play with people. And you know what? It starts a little bit that way. And then obviously it doesn't. For me, the first 10, 20 minutes, I wasn't sold on the film. It got significantly better. Even things like the music choices I ended up loving more and more as it went on. Last 10 minutes, absolutely spectacular. I really enjoyed it in the end. But I will admit, I didn't watch the entire film.
Do you have a toilet break for like an hour or what?
So I did miss the infamous injury scene. For a man who has spent most of his life injured, turns out I can't really handle seeing that on screen. So I just kind of looked away a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. So I don't actually know what happened.
You were in the theater, the cinema, but you were like
very much so. Every time I saw that she was playing tennis, as it kind of moved on and on, it's like, oh, this is gonna be this time, isn't it? Look away a little bit, and then I know she hurt her knee, but that's all I've got.
Well, that's basically I mean, the actual moment is in the trailers. So if anyone's wondering what happens, is she overextends for a shot and slips and her knee buckles and she does it in and she kind of rolls around on the floor going owies for a bit, and that's potentially the end of her career. So you didn't miss anything in particular. It's not very gruesome. You barely see it on screen. It's blinking.
That's my weakness. I can watch a load of horrors, get big scary, but a little bit of injury, no.
A sporting injury is a step too far for
Just
our horror-loving co-host. I'll just pick up on something you said because it's one of my early notes here. The music choices in this film are interesting. It's mostly techno kind of vibes, and it's an odd choice. It's quite loud, and it kind of suddenly starts and suddenly stops quite often. But I kind of got a bit Pavlovian dogged on it because they played techno often enough during the high intensity sporting scenes where there's someone on the line trying to do a big win or whatever, and then later on in the film they play it a couple of times in a non-tennis scene. Other stuff is going on, no spoilers, and I'm like, hello. My ears perk up. I'm like, oh, something big's happening here. Something I should pay attention. So yeah, that actually worked really quite well in the end.
It did.
It could have been done with a different style of music, I suppose, but you've got to make a choice and go with something, and they stuck to that. And I didn't hate it as much in the end as I thought I was going to. When it's after the second or so time it was on, I'm like, oh, is this the film?
I actually liked it for the tennis scenes. And obviously it fit with any sort of interesting action sequence, important part. But for the tennis scenes, somehow it really, really worked. Especially some of the interesting shots they use sort of later on, which we'll discuss. I
have a feeling you're going to like some of the interesting shots that I didn't like at all.
I will like the technicality of them potentially. But yeah.
You know what? Let's talk about how it's shot anyway.
Okay.
Before we get into any story and stuff, because for a tennis film, I actually think for the most part the tennis is pretty poorly shot.
Okay.
If you allow me to explain, there's a lot of close-ups where you just literally it's face and you can almost see their shoulders basically doing a swing, and then they put in the sound of a tennis ball being hit. You don't really get a feel for the matches very often. You don't get any long rallying shots going. Well, you do later on, but I've got a problem with that. So, so when you do, I don't like it. But yeah, for a tennis film, the tennis isn't the star. The rest of the story is. What is the star is slow-mo sweat dripping shots. They love a bit of that.
They do. They do. Also, again, I'm clearly a little out of shape, but I've never sweat that much in my life.
They must be so hydrated. Beyond hydrated. To be able to sweat that much and not pass out. Honest, that's ridiculous. So yeah, like I say, a lot of the shots are really in on the faces, lots of emotions. Some are in the creases of the eyes as they're squinting at it.
I think
Go for it.
I was going to say, I think you're exactly right. It is very much a tennis film where tennis isn't the main star, but they keep telling us that it is, in the same way that Iron Claw was a wrestling movie where the wrestling isn't the main star.
Absolutely. So, for the most part, you don't see the tennis. And then towards the middle end, you get one shot where you are, I think you're technically opposite the umpire, so it's kind of almost ball boy girl vision.
Yeah.
And it's panning left and right. As they do a little bit of a rally, but it's panning so quickly, it's mostly just blur. It's not a pleasant shot to watch.
This is it. They definitely use standard 24 frame or 24p recording in it, and some of the panning shots out of the tennis are a bit blurred anyway. You see this in the writing. Yeah. And some action movies or sports movies do use higher frame rate for that, but they didn't, which is maybe why they decided to do a lot more close-ups than they did. Tennis is obviously quite fast, but again, that's my opinion.
And then my final two comments on just how the tennis itself is shot is this is a pet peeve I hate in films in general, is when everything's you're just watching it all happen, and then suddenly first person shot. Hate that. It really irks me. It always takes me completely out of the movie when I'm normally just watching you. Here we are, they're doing a bit of tennis, and then suddenly I'm them doing a bit of tennis. I'm like, oh. Don't like that. But the most grievous one is I really hated towards the end of the film. There is a "you are the tennis ball" shot.
Yes.
I hated that. I think I actually looked away during that scene because I was like, oh, I don't like this. It's making me feel a bit. Whoa.
For recording techniques, there was the three. Obviously, it's the body cam shot, which you said you didn't particularly like. I have to admit, I don't mind it in some films. Doom, for example, did it pretty well as a first-person shooter, but the tennis scenes, it's a bit too shaky for me.
It makes sense if you're watching police cam footage somehow.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to that, and then you cut to the people watching a monitor going, oh, that's going on. But when it's everything is one thing, and then suddenly this thing, I'm like, it just takes me out of the moment.
I do have to disagree that I did like the tennis ball part of it. I don't know why. I didn't think I would, but I really did. If I'm honest, I think that's been done before, and I think it was in Wimbledon, the Kirsten Dunst, what's his name film.
Does it?
But I'm
Because
not
I don't
100%.
remember that at all.
I could be making this up completely because it's been a while since I've seen it, but I seem to remember a shot like that before, and but I could be wrong. The other thing I did like is the under the court shot nearing the end, where he's bouncing the ball and you see the ball go down, but you're underneath.
Yes, yeah, they're playing
that.
on a bit of glass to get all those shots or something.
Yes.
I like that. That's nice. But the other balls stuff.
Want to say at the beginning, like really at the beginning of the film, there's a nice sound design side of it. So you're on the court, the net line, and the sound goes from left to right speaker quite nicely. It's a small thing. It lasts maybe 5-10 seconds. I was like, this is outstanding. I love this straight away. I was like, oh, this is going to be a quick little throwaway section at Phil's tire town. And then suddenly the entire film is there. I was like, okay, cool. This is a lot more important than I thought. But yeah, that sound design I really, really enjoyed.
I must admit, I didn't really pay too much attention to the sound design in this one, which is normally a good thing. If I notice things, it's because there's something weird. If it's good or great, I'm just like, yeah, good movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speaking of Wimbledon, though, Wimbledon's a better tennis film. Gonna be honest with you.
I have to admit, I do remember enjoying Wimbledon a lot more. The story in this... Sorry.
No, go for it.
The story in this, I think, has a lot more loops and issues to it. I'm going to say this now because I want to say it, but basically this film was Three Terrible People, the movie, and there's also tennis.
Two of them are worse than the one of them, I would say.
I will be interested to find out your opinion on who's the worst, but we'll discuss that, I think, later.
But yeah, it is a different film to Wimbledon, but I did enjoy Wimbledon more. Wimbledon, 2004, romantic comedy. That's the key there. Mm-hmm. This is a sports drama life thing. So one's designed to be fun. This is designed to not necessarily be fun. But Wimbledon, personal secret favourite of mine, starring Paul Bettany as a journeyman tennis pro, once ranked 11th. I've wrote some notes here. Once ranked 11th in the world, but slipped to 119th. Meets Kirsten Dunst, who is an up-and-coming tennis pro. It's his kind of last throw the dice, last hurrah, and he gets a new lease of life after meeting her. It's a similar kind of comeback stories need to be happening, but one's framed in a fun way, and one's framed in a you're all scum. Don't like you.
Yeah. No. You go. I've got this.
All right, I'll wrap up on my Wimbledon thing because I mentioned Kirsten Dunst, former Spider-Man alumni, right? Mm-hmm. Fun fact: Emma Stone, also former Spider-Man alumni, also did a tennis movie after being in a Spider-Man movie, Battle of the Sexes, and now Zendaya completing the hat trick of done a Spider-Man, does a tennis. So I just thought that was quite interesting.
I had the same
thing.
What I think maybe changes this one from the others is the driving force behind it. So the director, writer, whoever, said there was a couple of driving forces, like influences for this. One of them specifically wanted to go through the homoeroticism in tennis, which I didn't really ever consider until I read that. But you know what? Apparently that's a thing.
I didn't know that was a big thing, if I'm totally honest with you.
No, they obviously have that little scene, which everyone has seen in the trailer. Which
is that not just the potential homoeroticism of being in boarding school? Like,
potentially. It depends how you look at it, I guess. There's a couple of books that have maybe led to this, and there's also... do you know that Roger Federer's wife had a similar situation as Tashi in the story?
I did not, because I did try to see if this was based on anything particular, but then after my 2 seconds of gandering, it didn't immediately shout Roger Federer, so I stopped looking.
They've officially said that it's not based on her, but she was kind of up and coming, had foot surgery, couldn't ever get back into the top, so she started being manager for Federer and helped him through a lot of his career. So it's not based on that, but you know what? There's a lot of parallels. But yeah, I just found it interesting that it's not actually based on truth, but there is some obviously real life applications.
Some snippets of real life events have been taken and compiled into a different thing. Yeah, no, it's pretty interesting.
I do want to say, actually, by the way, her name is Mirka Federer. I'm not just saying Roger Federer's wife, like I just forgot her name. She is a different person. She is not just his wife.
That's fair enough. Well done. You'd be
Thank you.
you'd be getting comments. Okay, so character wise, before we get into spoilers, just Zendaya's character, just all about tennis. Tennis mad,
Yes.
tennis obsessed. She talks about tennis during sex. She also brings up others during and rivalries during things as well. So she's got a little bit of a kink, but she's obsessed with tennis as well. Like she just wants to talk about it, and then she can't do it with the career, so she puts all of her effort essentially through one of the guys, and that's that's her character, is just obsessed with winning any means necessary, and the marriage has kind of lost its spark, partially probably down to one's career slipping a little bit, and once the winning goes away, Zendaya. I'm using Zendaya as like the character's name as well, but whatever. Things start to fall apart. From a character looking at as a sort of vibe, I have no idea what Zendaya sees in Patrick. That's real name and character name I'm using now. Patrick
Keeping
is
it easy for everyone.
Absolutely. Patrick, oh, he's slimy. Oh, he's yucky. Not a fan. No, thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay, so we'll need to discuss this in greater detail in spoilers, I think, because there's a lot to unpack. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic between the two. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, they're
not as polished.
Yeah, there's they keep coming. Everyone, the trio just keep coming back together in certain ways and certain things. And at times I'm like, but why? Yucky. What I will say about the film is you never really see anybody at their best, both as characters or tennis stars. You see them early on, you see them at the end, but all of the success that one character has, it's just mentioned. You never see anybody's true highs, which leaves you with a film that's kind of a bit depressing.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Oh, this is falling apart. Oh, lost his confidence. Oh, romance stuff. Oh, so it's not a fun watch, I would say.
No, I do think it's definitely worth a watch. Like I said, I wanted to hate it. I wanted to going in thinking it was going to be bad. I really did enjoy it by the end. But yeah, don't go in thinking it's going to be like a Wimbledon sort of uplifting, tongue-in-cheek, smiley, happy. It's things are bad. Oh, they're getting worse again. Oh, they're getting worse again.
I didn't go into it expecting it to be bad or anything like that. I kind of go into most things assuming they're going to be mildly average. Even the ones I'm looking forward to. Well, I will say just before I'm ready to go into spoilers, if you've got more to say, then that's absolutely fine. The ending is a smidge ambiguous as well, and
which I like. I preferred the fact it's ambiguous. Like,
Fair enough.
I think there's too many happy endings in films. I like seeing something really bad and really depressing. We discussed this with the Imaginary film that I wanted to say about, and then obviously the fact that it is so open. Yeah, I enjoyed that. But
we'll get into that more in spoilers. Oh, brilliant! Ready for spoilers as well. Fantastic. Well,
are we doing a thumbs or?
Oh, we absolutely are going to give a thumbs. I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
Same, absolutely, yeah.
I really thought you were going to go thumbs down before we started recording this, because I went into it thinking I didn't go into it thinking I'd hate it or anything like that, but I thought you would for some reason. I don't know why.
You don't know me at all. We've never met. This is just he found some guy online and went, "You don't want a podcast?"
It's true. Right. Spoilers. What do you want to talk about?
So obviously, I've said it's three terrible people. The movie, and all of them are terrible in their own ways. I don't think very many of them, any of them, have any particularly redeeming features. But I think it says a lot about the film itself and the capability of the actors. I loved to hate them all. Like it's a good villain. It's a good bad person in a film. If you come out of it enjoying the fact you dislike them, it means they've done a good job.
Mm.
My theory about them and the relationship they have, and you may have your own theory on this as well, is that it can be simplified down to Pat loves three people. Okay, so he loves, in order, himself.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
I think Art, then Tashi.
Mm.
Because they've grown up together. There's the odd scene in the hotel, but I think he does actually care about him because they spent that much time together.
Yeah,
I think Art is just in love with Tashi, no matter what,
yeah,
and Tashi just loves tennis.
yeah. She's all
Like
tennis.
she doesn't care who she's with as long as they are a tennis player, tennis background. There's tennis in their lives.
Yeah,
So I think that's for me. Once I
and
start
they
looking
listen
at it
to
like
her.
that, yes, yeah. Even though she keeps saying like you're a grown man, you can make your own decisions. No, no, no. Do what she says, or it's going to go badly for you.
Well, yeah. At one point, she says, to various people, including to Art directly, if you want to retire, you can retire. And then, but by the end of that conversation, she says, "If you don't win, I'm divorcing you." So you're like,
But I do think she says, "If you don't win, I'm going to divorce you." Is that what you want to hear?
yeah. But I believe
it doesn't make it any better.
No.
So I'm just qualifying for no real reason there.
Okay, so you asked me earlier who I thought the worst people were. So in the worst people, I think Tashi Zendaya is up there for worst person. But because Patrick's so slimy and yucky, I'm putting him at number one for worst.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm
now
opposite.
You get you're the opposite. You think Tashi's the worst, or do you think Art's?
No, I think Pat's the best.
Oh, what? You're insane! You're a madman! Outrageous.
We will discuss this, but yeah, go through.
You got Art is a terrible friend at the start because they both want to date Tashi, and he kind of intentionally tries to scupper the relationship from all angles, being friendly with them both. But he's young and naive. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and things. And towards the end of the film, I was cheering for him to do a big win, rather than any others. Quite honestly, I did love his reaction. Okay, so one of the things that keeps happening in the film is Tashi marries Art after dating Patrick, but Tashi and Patrick keep having an affair. Occasionally they shag, essentially, in various places. And at the end, Patrick and Art are playing each other in this low-level tennis tournament at the end, and Patrick reveals, using a reference earlier in the film, of holding the ball in the center of the racket, that he had slept with Tashi again. And I very much enjoyed Art's. I won't say it because I don't want to have to bleep myself, but the way he reacts is hilarious. It was such a good reaction.
Yeah, the freeze, the turn away, the expletive, and then just like doesn't care for the next point either, but he's made to care about. Like it makes a lot of sense. Because obviously it takes some time for him to realize what the signal is. Obviously the ball in the racket, and then when he clicks, Pat kind of gives him a little nod and a smile in his. To be fair, in a particularly very slimy smile. I would give.
He's so slimy.
Okay, but my theory about the three characters is Pat didn't, other than the repeated cheating with Tashi, Pat doesn't actually do anything particularly wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. The Art's in the early stages of being this friend who's essentially stabbing everyone in the back trying to get with Tashi. 100%. He is the worst person at the start. But I just found Patrick so slimy in general. I was like,
yeah, no, he definitely is. Obviously, like the fact that he has nowhere to stay, so he's going on Tinder trying to match with people just so he has somewhere to sleep. But whilst he's on a date, he used to go talk to Tashi because obviously he still has a crush on her, and it's awkward and weird. Very well acted. He is the slimiest, but technically he didn't do much wrong. Like the part where you're supposed to hate him is when he's talking to Tashi about tennis whilst they're fooling around, and he basically says that like, no, we're both in the same sort of stage, we're both peers at this point, you are not significantly better than me. And then she freaks out, and yeah, like it gets quite personal, and that kind of spins him off on this almost villain arc of everything falling apart. Obviously later in the scene she gets injured, he wants to come back, and Art uses that to his advantage. Art is very opportunistic. Like he sees an opening, and he's straight in, and like I say,
Well,
he's the worst friend.
They have a conversation about it because Patrick is like aware of what Art's doing, and he's like he doesn't really mind because he's kind of happy to see him fired up about stuff.
Yeah,
and he even says you're playing possession tennis, waiting for me to mess up.
Yes.
And then when he does, which is the argument, it like Art is kind of straight in. Although it then, in fairness, it takes a little while. I think there's like a 2-year period. Because the film is mostly flashbacks.
Yes, which I liked as well, by the way.
Yeah, I did as well. It starts at the tennis. Well, it doesn't start. It mostly is focused around the tennis match that's happening in the present, and then it flashes back and it unravels the plot to you, and you see various things in mostly the right order, I think. So yeah, there Art is kind of instrumental in. I wouldn't even say that. He's not that instrumental. He just tells Art. Art tells Patrick to get out, and then they break up. Like that's not him doing that. Like she wanted him to leave. He told him to leave, and then they broke up. And then 2 years later, they get together, and then they go and have a kid and get married, and he has great success. While they don't talk. So there's a falling out, but I
think it's one of those things. A good friend would maybe be like, well, okay, come in here and maybe try and patch it up rather than if you're not here, you can't patch anything up and I will swoop in. Because he's had that conversation with Zendaya, over lunch, saying about how he's still, like, who wouldn't love you? I still love you. I think that's a running theme of who wouldn't love you throughout the entire thing. Yeah, it's just, Patch is himself through it all. He does some dodgy things, but he is outwardly and inwardly the same person. Art uses his perceived weakness or timidness to his advantage quite a lot. Like the whole, can I win? Using his dying grandmother, which again they make a joke about later on, which I actually quite enjoyed. But yeah, he knows what he's doing and he's tactical with it, and actually just wants more tennis in her life. Yeah.
I do think that there's a chance for Tashi and Patrick to have a conversation, not at that exact moment that she gets injured. But if she blames him for the injury, which I imagine she does, although it's not explicitly said, I don't think, because she's playing angry, essentially, because she has to play a tennis match straight after the argument. That's when she gets injured. Not that McBeardy saw it because he was looking away. So you're blaming Art, but at the same time,
yeah, no, like I say, no one comes out clean in this. Everyone is bad, everyone's terrible, and they play it well.
Everyone is slightly dirty at the best, for sure. We need to talk about the ending, and then we're going to wrap up because we're going to go long again.
Always.
Who knew a tennis film would be so talkative? It's because I went on a ramble about Wimbledon. I didn't enjoy the ending, and neither did Amy. Essentially, they're playing the last points, and they get closer and closer and closer to the net, like quick volley rally kind of thing. And then Art goes to play a shot, but he ends up jumping over the net and getting caught by Patrick, and they kind of hug, and Zendaya stands up and goes, yay! I need to know who wins that, first of all. On a personal level, I need to know who wins that. Also, I'm pretty sure Art loses that point anyway because of net infringement. Pretty sure. I'm not a tennis expert, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Yeah, so basically anyone who hasn't seen it, Pat goes for a lob, Art jumps for it, but it's not fully over the net yet. So as he goes forward, he touches the net and touches Pat. Both of those are infringement, so he definitely loses the point. I know a little about tennis. I like the fact that there's no resolution. And I think that Tashi, again, she doesn't care. She's just seeing good tennis again, because all the way through it's Pat's dominating, Art's dominating. She's already asked Pat to lose for Art, but she's not sure what's going to happen. So she's, one point, doesn't care. Everyone else is looking left to right in quite a obvious scene, and she's just staring forward. Finally, after the whole Pat telling Art that he slept with Tashi, they start playing proper tennis again, and she's fully into it, and it culminates in this giant, and again, slow-mo scene. I'm not sure if there was sweat, but I'm betting there was. And yeah, Pat catches Art, Tashi screams about good tennis, and it ends. And I like the fact there's no conclusion to it. Like, no one's clean, no one's right, no one's the hero. You don't need to know who wins.
Yeah, so I looked into it afterwards, and Wikipedia claims that essentially after the reveal, that is what relights the fire, the tennis fire, back in Art. Did it? I mean, he certainly wanted to win all of a sudden. He certainly started caring, but is that what I really watched? I don't know.
I think it rekindles his friendship with Pat, because they joke about that tennis ball to the racket scene earlier, and it's like, oh, we're friends and talking about conquests, and now it's back, and it's obviously with his wife, which isn't ideal, but I think he sees the side of Pat he hasn't seen in a while, having this sort of like jokier side with him, and they kind of play better. I might be misremembering this, but I swear he seems happier and more into the game. Both sides do. I think it kind of culminates in everyone.
I think you're right.
The better selves again a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose I just want to. I want to know. I don't want to be left. Wait, I don't like cliffhangers very much. I kind of do want to know. Like, what happens now? Do they just go? Is a divorce happening? Because it looked highly likely, regardless of tennis. At one point, they don't seem happy. Are they just going to go and be a throuple? Is a threesome on the cards? Are we going to go back to the hotel from the start of the film? What's happening here? Give me answers. I personally need a little bit more, but I do 100% appreciate what you're saying and why some people would be quite happy visualizing it themselves in the future and coming to their conclusion.
It doesn't need to be said.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Do you have anything else you want to discuss?
Don't think so. No, like I say, I enjoyed it more than I thought. I think it was well acted. It was an interesting take on the story. Yeah, really well done.
Yeah. 3 bad characters playing tennis. Occasionally you can see it being played as well, rather than just their eyes. That is the movie challenges. Beardy, take us home with the outro.
I haven't brought up my outro thing. So thank you everybody for watching. We are going to be doing this again. I think we're watching films today for the next one.
I think we are.
Keep an eye out for that. I don't think Bobby said anything about time codes, so there will be time codes for spoilers and non-spoilers. But you've just seen all the spoilers, so
whoa! What do you mean Bobby didn't say anything? You did the intro, sir.
This has been a mess of a recording, but I love it. Thank you for watching. Come see us next time. Bobby is streaming at Bobby Android on Twitch. I still haven't got my act together, so don't come and find me. Please don't find me. Bye-bye.
McBeardy on Twitch. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. See you later.